I think we have to. I think we will wait for a few more minutes. I'm going actually live from the Facebook page of the Shortcut, and then the YouTube channel of the Shortcut, and then also two of my channels from there.
Okay, so you got some personal channels too.
Yeah.
Nice. How is the weather in Helsinki?
Well, it's good today. I think today is the best weather because it's like the sunniest today, and the whole day it's gonna be like this. It is going to go like up to, I think.
Now I lost your. Oh, now I can hear you again. Yes. So it's gonna be very warm.
Yeah, I think it will be very warm. It is like super sunny outside, and the whole day it's gonna be like this. It's going to be like 20 degrees Celsius or something.
Well, it's good that you have now your restaurants and cafes open from yesterday, right? So you're able to go and be a bit more social. So the weather kind of hit the perfect date for that.
Yeah. It is like, but I think they did the arrangements in a way that it is only half of the restaurant you can use.
I
So
see.
it's also like super safe, and then you can also go and enjoy, and it's really nice. It's getting better here.
Yeah, very good. Well, it's very warm here too, so it's a summer's day. But we haven't had any of the restaurants or cafes closed, so they've been obviously open. Sweden has had their own like agenda with the entire strategy.
Okay. Well, good morning to everyone. So today we are going to talk about personal branding to land a job, or how you strategize that. And for the few people who doesn't know the Shortcut, I think many people know about the Shortcut who are from Finland. And for to say what Shortcut is, it is the largest talent accelerator in the Nordics. So what we do is we equip talents with the skills that they need for innovation and also to grow up in the startup community. And thanks to events like this, and thank you so much for being a part of this event. We are really grateful, and I'm pretty sure a lot of value will come from the ocean of knowledge that you carry. So I'm really looking forward to this. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, I think a lot of people in Finland already know you from the company and also from your experience background, because you also mentored me at one time, which was really great. I'm really grateful for that, because that was really valuable for me. So if you'd introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm from Sweden. So it's 8:00 over here in Stockholm. So my name is Mia Berglund, and I work for a company called Meltwater currently. It's a global media monitoring software business. So I've been working for them now for about 2.5 years, maybe a bit more. And I manage their talent acquisition and employer branding at the business, now responsible for our Nordic countries, so Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark. And prior to that, I've been in recruitment for about maybe 10 years now, always in tech industry, 7 years in Australia. So I was recruiting for big tech companies over there as well. So that a very brief summary of what I do, but obviously with that comes a lot of LinkedIn headhunting and reviewing CVs and interviewing people. Nowadays, obviously more over video because of COVID-19, but also phone and face-to-face. So therefore the topic of personal branding today. That's
like
me.
I would love to know like so much from you and learn so much from you, but since today's topic is like personal branding, so what would be your definition of like personal branding in the job market or like job recruiting?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's good that you said in that specific kind of space, because I mean, personal branding, if we go back in history, I think we should probably study PR and communications where it first appeared. But if we look at personal branding purely in the job market or the recruiting industry, I mean, it's the image that you portray of yourself, obviously. It's very similar to a company's brand. It's the impression, it's your reputation, and it's based on certain context. So it could be, for example, your industry, or it could be your work environment. It's everything, your actions, your achievements, that you give out. So especially in digital concepts, like our CEO at Meltwater likes to talk about the different kind of breadcrumbs that companies leave online. Our personal branding leaves also breadcrumbs everywhere we go. Not only online, obviously, but today I guess we're focusing a bit more online. Now I have to say I can a little bit like hear. I don't know if it's my mic or if it's somebody else's, but I hear myself a bit.
Okay, I can plug in my headphone and check if it gets better.
Okay.
Is it any more better now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, now it's away. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was because of the headphones.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Well, would you say like the definition of personal branding has changed over the time of your experience that you have been in this industry?
Well, I'm no expert in the definition of personal branding, so I wouldn't like to necessarily comment on how it's changed. But obviously, prior you looked for a job through sending your CV or showing up in person or giving a company a call. So now everything with the social media channels that has obviously changed. So now you're on platforms, so you'll have a personal brand whether you like it or not if you have any kind of presence in digital platforms. Whether you actively manage it, if you even just create a profile and somebody finds it and looks at it, it will still give them an impression of you. So that's like in the end of the scale will be that as your personal brand, and then to the other side of the scale is obviously where you then actively every day maintain it in some way. So definitely it has changed to becoming way more online, but nonetheless, just as important is how you show up in face-to-face, because if you have a specific personal brand online which doesn't measure up with who you are when you meet people face-to-face, that will obviously affect it too. So it's not only online, but that's kind of the pitch end of it. That's where it starts. And then you need to obviously deliver on that personal brand also in face-to-face interactions and all other channels.
100%. I also believe that everyone has a personal brand. Either they manage it or don't. The question is, do you want to manage it or you don't want to manage it?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So what would be some of the tips for the job for the job seekers to do for their personal branding? Like what would be some of the tips that you would suggest?
Wow, that's like a broad question.
Yeah.
Hours and hours on it. I think this is typically what my workshop at the Shortcut also like this topic specifically is about. There is a lot you can do, especially with LinkedIn today. That's a great tool for specifically the recruitment market. I mean, it is made or it started from that. Now, obviously, it's also a great selling tool, but it is where recruiters go to find talent, mainly if they want to find it digitally. So I guess, I mean, you need to first decide what is your aim, what is your goal. There is no point in doing something and just pushing stuff out, and no point either in kind of getting all the different channels, even though I mentioned LinkedIn quite a lot. You can use all the other social media tools for finding jobs. They're great ways to keep up to date and contact people and follow companies and so forth. So obviously there's a lot of different decisions you need to do, but the first one, which I always say, is there's no point in starting to use any of these and try to build your personal brand until you know what your goal is with it. So decide, are you looking for a job? Or are you trying to build your network? Are you trying to sell your own services or products? What is it that you want out of it? And from there, it's so much easier to then start building up your personal brand. So if you don't know what you want, you're not going to get the results you're hoping for either. And here specifically, if we talk about finding a job, then you need to decide what are you in these digital channels. A lot of mistakes I see people doing, they're trying to be everything. And if you're everything, then you're going to get everything as well back at you. And that's not necessarily good. You want to get the right opportunities, and you want to be profiled in front of the right companies and the right people. And they want to see, okay, this is a person who is this. Like we like to concept people, we like to box them, and it doesn't mean that you need to be niche in an area. You can still be a generalist, but there is stuff like industries, there is stuff like size of companies that you can specialize in your experience. But I like to talk about this red thread throughout your experience. So look at how is your background. What is it that is similar from the start of your background until today, and how does that support your goal? And then start bringing that out. So if I work with somebody one-on-one on their LinkedIn profile or their personal branding presence in online media, that's the first questions I'll ask them. I'll sit down and take that out of them. Okay, what is it you have done throughout your career that is similar in every single position, and all your volunteer experiences and your passion? What is it that you always love doing in every single position? And then we decide on the end goal, and then we build the entire profile up based on that journey.
I think my LinkedIn profile has also been a byproduct of that, because a few suggesting, because
go and check it out to see you.
I was going like in all directions, and I was like, I'm up for anything. And then I really sat down after you told me. I really sat down and I chalked out, okay, so these are my experiences, these are the things I love to do. And so my LinkedIn should be like that red thread that you talk about, that it goes in the personalization of like what I am good at and what I can provide to the company.
And a lot of people, like, they never do this. So the interesting thing is, I had back in Australia once, I was helping this older manager find a role. So he was very senior and he was very experienced in IT sales. And he had never sat down and looked at his CV and his experience. So it took a while, and I think it took like 2 weeks for him. And then he got back to me and he's like, Mia, oh my God, I'm so grateful for like this thing, because I had never even looked at how experienced he was. So a lot of people, when they never like reflect back at their background, they don't necessarily like understand how much experience they have to give a company. So we are by nature, I guess, a bit humble with, especially Finns, we don't like to sell ourselves, and there is this little puppy syndrome, and we shouldn't be better than anyone else, and we don't want to like profile ourselves. And it was just so funny, like he was this 40 plus, manager of I don't know how many sales teams he's had, and then he's like, oh my God, I actually have some experience. I'm like, well,
I mean, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is one thing that brings me to also like, a lot of people talk about, personal branding as being fake or not real. But then what people don't understand is that it's the same as CV. Like we used to, I mean, if you think about the recommendations from the LinkedIn, like people are like, you only get it from the people you know. I mean, of course, like in CVs, you got recommendations from the people you knew. And then also, even if you create a fake profile of your experiences and everything, the thing is, if you don't deliver to that, you are not going to stay in the job. So it doesn't. So
well,
it doesn't
I love like this metaphor of dating and recruitment. I always bring it up. It's the same. Like, I mean, if you pitch yourself on an online dating site or in the first like date in some way, and then you show up and you're totally something different, or further down the track, they notice that, you were lying, it's going to be the same. So of course you can like use any online platform and portray a specific image of yourself, and like we do probably with Facebook and Instagram, and choose the best pictures and so forth, of course, and we're all aware of it. But it's to what extent you do it. Of course, you need to pitch in a certain way, and when you pitch, you like to take out your best qualities, right, that will match that job or that industry, and you should, but you need to bring out those things that you can then also deliver upon. It will, like the recruiter, the company, they're gonna notice if you've been lying, and the same with CVs. It has always happened. It's not a new thing with this online media space. It used to happen before we were recruiting from online, when we were reading CVs. people would make up stuff on their CVs even. But that's what we need to do once we meet them face to face or have a phone call to like back it up. And then you see very quickly, oh no, that wasn't really true what they wrote in the CV. It's
Yeah.
not like the human nature hasn't changed. It's just changed platforms from like paper CV to online.
100% agreed. So would you say like it actually fills in, like your personal brand actually fills in the gap between your CV and you as a person, because that is where you get to see the person more in general, like what activities he does, like the posts that he writes, the articles that he shares, and the things that he's interested about and talks about. Do you think
I
that
would
it?
actually say that it's not even a gap between, like you don't even need a CV today. Like you, of course, there's a lot of companies that require it to apply for a role, but thankfully to like LinkedIn and stuff, really you wouldn't need if you do it correctly and a company's open to have the initial conversation with you based on your LinkedIn profile, you don't actually need a CV. So it's also a case of it taking like replacing the CV to a certain extent, and it's actually giving a more rounded version of the person rather than a CV is quite flat. But like you were saying, you can see the articles they've shared, the kind of like companies they support and they follow. Like on my LinkedIn profile, I support the Shortcut, for example, which is a non-for-profit organization. I do guest lectures and so forth. So you'll get a little bit more than you might on a typical normal CV. And then you get to see their interactions. You see what they commented, what they've shared, and so forth. Yeah, so it's almost like a bit bigger than just the typical CV. And it's not bad to have a CV after. I typically do. Like a lot of the candidates I hire, they come from LinkedIn, or I simply ask for their LinkedIn profile and have the initial phone conversation. And then later down the track, to make it easier for the hiring manager so that they don't need to then click and search on LinkedIn, I just ask them later down the track, well, send me a CV as well so I can share it with the hiring manager before your face-to-face interview.
I totally agree to that, and that is why I also went hard on LinkedIn. Like I was like publishing articles and like contents like this, because I wanted people to, like, this is one way for companies to even see like your work, because a CV is like a piece of paper, whereas it is 100 times better to like show your work rather than writing it on a paper. So
Yeah.
recruiters and companies can actually see what you're doing. So if you're like a marketing professional, show your copywriting skills or how you create content or how you create visuals in that way. And then if you're a web developer, attach a website or like take snippets of your website and then publish them to show like how good you are. And I've also got some positive response from like some companies who reached out to me, and it was like I was like getting like, okay, so this is how it works. So this is how personal branding is so important for everyone.
Yes, and I mean, it's like you say, the more you're active, the more you share, not only do you show that you're passionate about the industry and the area you work in, but also the LinkedIn algorithm will recognize you as a profile that is active, and obviously it wants to show more active profiles to people. And then we can go into like the details of, you know, these different like words and what you should write where and so forth to kind of like get your profile out there. But that will take ages. Like that'll take an hour in itself to just speak about how best to update your LinkedIn profile. But my 1 cent on this would be update the profile, like maximize it. So update every single. LinkedIn has like a checklist that you can check. Okay, so use that checklist and update it to 100%. So you become like a star profile. It gives you like that mark once you've updated all the different parts of the profile that you can. And if we look at the other, I do want to mention the other social media platforms here as well, so it doesn't just become like a LinkedIn discussion. But like you don't need to be on all of them. I'd rather you choose like the ones that you feel most comfortable with. So they all have their own, let's say, touch. For example, Instagram is great to follow hashtags, and a lot of companies post their open jobs using certain hashtags in Finland, in Finnish. But anyway, there could be duunit, it could be rekrytointi, avoimet työpaikat, these kind of things. And if you follow that hashtag on Instagram in the same same way as you'll get your friends' pictures come up, you'll get every morning the latest updates from companies who have used that hashtag with their jobs. So it's a great platform to kind of find who is hiring, look for companies' culture. And then the second thing is Twitter. It's a great tool to connect with people that you never would have a chance to connect with otherwise. I mean, where else can you follow and send a direct message to a CEO of a company? Now, before you do it, obviously you want to have a strategy behind it. But still, I mean, it's a absolutely great way straight to the people that you want once you know what you want to tell them and what your point and goal is with your job search.
Yeah, one of my recent activity that I wanted to do is just go on Twitter and tag companies and talk about this is how you can do your marketing better. Like just have like a 2-line or 3-line steps. Like this is what can be done better, and not like this is something new, but it can be done better in a better way. And that is one way to reach out to them and to get that is one thing that you can actually build a personal brand in all of the platforms. And then you have to understand which ones you want and which one actually resonates to your goals.
And if you have your own blog or your own website where you write articles like that, or even use LinkedIn's blog article tool and write your article on the different companies there and tag them, and then you can use that link and share it in other social media platforms and go, I wrote this. I have an example of a candidate who wrote about his experience, hiring experience, recruiting experience with different companies, and he tagged Meltwater as a company that he had just been in our recruitment process and he really enjoyed it, and he tagged a few other companies. Of course, he became top of mind in our, not only mine, but in other of my colleagues, processes or thoughts, because he wrote something about his own experience and he had some good ideas. He wasn't only saying, oh, great. He was saying, this is what could be, done even better, or this specific thing I appreciated in it. So yeah, definitely a great way if you actually provide some value to the companies. Great way to be noticed.
Yeah. Would you like to share one example of a top-notch personal branding that you've seen while recruiting?
Oh, that's a hard one. I don't think I have any specific perfect profiles. It's more about what's good and what's bad. And really, what's good is exactly what we've been talking about and a lot of the things that you've mentioned. So if a person is active, you can tell that they're passionate about what they do. So for example, now the last 2.5 years when I've been with Meltwater, I've been focusing on tech salespeople. I have recruited, other profiles in my past too, but now it's specifically in this space. So I would say probably the best profiles that I've headhunted are people who bring out in their profile their love for sales. So obviously you do want to see that they're passionate about it. There was one girl that we recruited to our company that I headhunted, and she had in her summary, and still has, always be closing, and that's like a typical phrase in hardcore sales in a way, or in my mind it is. So when I saw that, and then I saw her experience and all her achievements, and also what she had written her thesis about at university, I was like, this is a great profile, and I immediately contacted her. Looked at it for a minute or two, and then I was like, I need to speak to her. So it's all about that red thread, how well you can bring it out and show also both your experience and your passion for it.
Interesting. I'm taking notes out here. I need to write all of this down. So how do you say how to connect and build a network in these platforms that should do their personal branding?
Very important to have a network, because if you don't have, then your profile is not going to show to anyone. So it's not enough to just create a profile. You need to obviously have a network around it too. So what I would say is determine, again, go back to what you want to achieve, because there are people that connect with everyone, and I'm not sure. Maybe it works. I'm not going to comment on that because I do a different strategy. So there are different like viewpoints on this I want to bring forth. So it could be that connecting with everyone is good too. But I tend to, I don't connect with anyone who hasn't, shared with me why they want to connect with me, or that I know we've been on the same webinar, for example. If people after this want to connect with me on LinkedIn, the only thing they need to do is just send, a little note together with a connection invite and go like, hi, I saw you today at the online breakfast with a shortcut. Yes, I'll, accept, obviously, because we have had some kind of interaction. But if it's a totally random person out of nowhere where we haven't been in the same event or so forth, and the person is not a sales tech superstar that would fit my target kind of candidate, I most likely don't accept it, because I'm like, well, why would I want to build my network around this when I want it to be around this? So that's my strategy. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. You need to create your own strategy. If you do want to connect with everyone, then do that. But, do connect with people. Like, decide whatever your strategy, decide what it is, and start building up your network. And I would suggest to always send a short note. It's just polite. It has shown that people accept it more likely when you do add even a hi. I like your profile. We're in the same industry. I'd love to connect with you for future, purposes or so forth. Or just simply, I would love to connect here so I can follow your content that you share on LinkedIn.
Yeah. For the people who are commenting, I would just like to mention this, that we will take in the questions. At the end of the show, we will keep like 15 minutes to answer all of these questions. So really thankful for the questions, and we would soon get to them at the end of the show. And according to the subject of like connecting, how do you like manage or like build a sustainable relationship with those connections? Because it is not just like you connect and then you don't do like anything from your part to be visual or to get in front of the line where many people are connecting with them.
Well, you don't necessarily have to. So one of the strategies can also be that you connect with them in an event like this. And then you send the little note. And I love this because our marketing manager at Meltwater, she has told all our salespeople to do this. And I think it's a great idea. So when you connect with somebody and you share that little note, add a little thing that reminds you of how you found their profile, where you came across, so that if it's a half a year later or even a year later, you have something to start building on. So if they say, hi, Mia, I'd like to connect with you here on LinkedIn. Thank you for the online breakfast series with the shortcut. Now, you don't have a need for me for the next 6 months or a year even. But then for some reason, you see maybe I've changed companies or you have changed companies, and you see that, okay, you need to chat to me or you'd like to have a meeting with me. Then when you go to the thread on LinkedIn, you can actually see the old comment. So then it's much easier to send a message going, hi, it was actually a year ago that I listened to that one, and you remember maybe something. Oh, I like those tips that you shared. Hey, I'm in this situation in my life. Could you share some, knowledge, or can we catch up, or could you introduce me to this or whatever? So always like add a note because of that reason too. So it's easier for you to remember, because in social digital channels, you just don't have the capacity to maintain relationships like you have in real life. I think there's some research done that you can only maintain like 70 connections. And if you have a big family, 70 is gonna be just like your mom, dad, your sisters, and your cousins. If you come from a culture where you have like, you don't really have like, the brain doesn't have capacity to keep, remembering everything and keep a network like that. So that's why you need to put notes. You need to put notes, and you don't need online to maintain it. But maintenance will happen if you do build your network around a certain strategy and a certain industry or a certain passion of yours, because then when you share and they share and you engage with their content, then you'll obviously keep popping up, and you might like go, oh yeah, I like that, and you start commenting. So a lot of my network obviously is also recruiters, they're employer branding professionals across the world. And even though we never met, we comment, we like each other's posts and so forth. And that's how we start building up the relationship that maybe one day we'll just decide we're going to meet.
So do you mind me sharing your LinkedIn profile, and the one who would have like a crushing profile and writes a crushing note on side of it, would you would like add them if you feel like it?
Yeah, no, I definitely add. If anyone sends me a note and says why they wanna like connect with me, I'll definitely connect with them. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll share your LinkedIn profile in the comment
Oh
section.
God, I haven't like I can't remember when I've updated it last. This is like how do you say like in English? I can't remember the saying, but the person that speaks of it never follows their own advice.
Yeah, but I think you'll be getting a lot of connection requests
That's
now,
okay.
and you can
And
filter
one
from there.
thing is obviously that there is a if you're in a physical event, then you can use the near field connection on LinkedIn to find everyone around, and then you can easily just add them without a comment, because if everyone does it, you know that they've come from that physical event. What I would do is later that evening or next morning, I would go through all those that have connected with me and just send a short note just for my own memory that it was from that event we connected.
How would you say that this personal branding resonate with the word "be yourself"? Because I think that is one thing I've heard a lot in this
Yeah,
scenario. So, what is your viewpoint on that?
I think it's all. I mean, if you really do it well, that's what it should be. It should be like you should be able to be yourself, both personally, professionally, your expertise, your experience, and then if you're really good, bring that out. LinkedIn or any social media profile shouldn't to be a you know um, hard professional version of you. The best ones are those that also your personality shines through. What I like reading in profiles is when somebody they take out their achievements, so they show that they have something to stand on, but then they also speak about their passion or what they're interested in. It doesn't need to be the buzzword passion. And you can be passionate about several different things, but stuff that excites you, that energizes you, and specifically if it aligns with their experience and their professional background, then that's great. So definitely be yourself. Obviously, don't put a picture with sunglasses or on the beach on your LinkedIn profile, and maybe your background picture, don't put a think about it a bit strategically. And
I think I had one with the like a TV show which was like recording me in like a channel, and then I had to like
that's
change
good.
it out. Like,
No, I like that, because that has to do with your, it's marketing. It's a little bit, gives a little bit of personality, but it's still connected somehow to your achievements and experience and so forth. So the best thing is to add something like that. I think my background picture is our team in Finland. So I think it kind of gives a bit of now I'm obviously not an active job seeker. So would I be an active job seeker, I might change my profile a bit. Currently, my goal with my profile is that when a candidate lands on it, they're like, okay, she's easily approachable. Seems like Meltwater is a fun company. I think my profile could suit for them, and then it's very easy to approach me. So therefore, also a picture of our team, and which is having fun and so forth in my background.
yeah, makes sense. I think like personal branding would be, it gives the actually the human touch. Like we are talking about these connections, and then like being yourself. Like all of this is pretty much human. So like even in my internship or wherever I've worked, I always try to like talk to every single person, because you never know that the person who is interning with you might be the next manager of the HSBC bank, or there might be the next hiring position in Meltwater in the shortcut. So like keeping all of these connections, I think is really good, and through personal branding you can do it much better and much efficient way.
Absolutely.
And I know you have already answered this question, but then I would again like to ask, like, do you think, what would you suggest some of the mediums or channels for the job seekers to do their personal branding?
Well, we've spoken about LinkedIn, obviously, so definitely, get that up and running and add everything there that is asked. Try to make that as good as possible. Then, if you are already on Twitter, then fix it up. Maybe put a professional picture on it. Twitter is still a bit more professional than Facebook and Instagram. So just make sure, and then you can write a short note on yourself. So obviously choose to align that with you professional if you want to use Twitter as a professional channel. And remember that if they can search you, if they can find you, and you're using Twitter, but you haven't created it in the way of like a professional profile, then you're going to be judged on what you have there instead. So it's better to be, secure than sorry, or how do you say, better safe than sorry. Yeah. And Instagram, you can obviously keep it private, so that's great. I still, even though I have a private profile and my pictures have nothing to do with work, I still have that public part of me on Instagram. I do write what I do. So I'm a talent acquisition lead for the Nordics, and then I have the Instagram profile of our company there. So just in case somebody does find me or looks for me, they do know what I do and which company I represent.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I think because we're running short on time, we will take in the questions. So one, Arif Abdul, he asked, how do you perceive TikTok for personal branding? This is a social media disruptor.
I know, I'm on TikTok too.
Are managers like yourselves changing your overall approach to hiring people with newer social media channels? What would be your...
Yeah, now it doesn't, we don't hire based on which social media profiles you have. If you're not looking for a digital marketing role or something, then obviously maybe we want to know that you have experience in those channels. TikTok, no, like I need to put a disclaimer here. In Finland, it's actually against the law, the HR law, to Google somebody with a name. So if you haven't posted your social media links on your CV or your application or so forth, they shouldn't, look for it. And I don't think TikTok is so, I mean, it's made for fun. I mean, everyone that's on there are making just stupid, funny things, besides maybe those that actually have it as their portfolio with the video stuff and so forth. So no, I don't see TikTok as a channel for, that would affect the chances. I don't think there are many recruiters that would even look you up unless you specifically put a link in your application and say, please check out my profile on TikTok because I have it's like my portfolio or something like that. Could change in the future.
I think, I mean, it is not a channel still, but it might be in the future when people would take like Finnair and like do something for Finnair, which is like crazy stuff that they can provide value to Finnair.
I think the problem there is that there is no access to actually look for a profile there. So it's not easy for recruiters to use Boolean, for example, to find it.
Yeah. Well, to the next question, it is asked by Salim. It is, how may a perfect profile look like? I'm curious to know, as you mentioned, you haven't actually received a perfect profile. I would love to find some insights from you.
So I didn't mean I haven't received a perfect profile. All that I'm saying is that I don't think that there is one perfect profile, because in the same way as we are all different, an apple can be super good and a pear can be super good, but we just can't like compare them, because the personal branding in the end, it's not about being the best at personal branding. It's about showing yourself in the best way out. So I think I kind of answered that question already. It's about, having the red thread of your experience and then showing your passion and just knowing your goal. So it's very clear on your profile that who you are, what you do, what your expertise is, and where you want to go in the future. So that I also, from a company point of view, can then determine, like, can we actually, provide a career progression like that for you. So those things, but again, this is like a question that we could discuss for
hours
on its own. I hope that I gave a little bit more insight on that question.
Yeah, well, the next question is from me. She asked, can you share some tips on writing a captivating LinkedIn headline?
Sure. So obviously, like, that's a good question. So there is the headline that will show up next to your picture, and then there is the latest title, which is your current title at the company you work with. And I would suggest, now, when saying this, I actually have them exactly the same currently, so I haven't
Mhm.
changed them. I typically have them different, and I would suggest that you do have them different, because the headline up next to your picture actually can fit more characters. So that should be a bit more of your pitch. So, and that really works well if you use the same keywords in that title as in your current title with the business, just for showing up in searches and so forth. But that's where I would say, for example, I've had headlines such as recruiting the next sales tech superstars, um, hiring right now, sales, tech, something like this, that it shows up in searches and shows a bit what I currently do. If you're actively on the market looking for a new role, and you can be very open about it, meaning that you're not currently employed by a company that shouldn't know that you're looking for a job, then you could say something in line with like, communications specialists, open for new opportunities, for example, or whatever. That is a really, really short pitch of who you want people to perceive you as. Now, my 1 cent on that is, don't write like a long thing with just keywords, because then it gets confusing for people who you are and what you do. Try to still keep it, the same rule with the rest of your personal branding. Keep it concise with the thought of your goal, but definitely spend some time thinking about what it could be. And the great thing with that is you can actually change it quite often. So even like if you want to change it every month or something, try a new, or next week, it's actually good for the LinkedIn algorithm to change it once in a while. It notices that you are active with your profile.
Interesting. I also think like I did the same like at first, like, but as you suggested, I put like looking for jobs in the marketing and sales department, and then when I got in, then I changed like from there, because then I thought like, okay, so now I'm in working for the shortcut, then now I'm not looking for jobs. But when I was looking for jobs, it was like companies, they when they visit your profile, they can see like, okay, so this person is actually looking for jobs, because I
Yeah.
mean you are sharing content, but you might not be a job seeker.
Yeah,
So like
I would
having,
always though add something that to do with your specialization, not only looking for a job. So you need to also put, specialist in this, or future manager in this area, looking for my next opportunity, just so it shows up in also the searches when they're looking for communication specialists.
Mhm. Yeah, I think those are like super good answers. I have been taking notes all the time, and it's super interesting to me. And if I want to know more about it, like what do you think about the hashtags that you put on LinkedIn? Because like in most of the times I see in the notifications that this hashtag is like trending. So
Yeah.
like how can people leverage that while building their personal branding?
So actually, the trending hashtags has more to do with the content that you want to see on your profile, and
Mhm.
it's worth figuring out. And you can change that. So it could be this year because you're looking for a role. It could be certain areas where you look for roles, the industries. Or then once you do have a role and you want to keep up to date on a certain industry, choose those hashtags. But you can choose on LinkedIn which hashtags you want it to follow for you and show content specifically to that. So I think I have like employer branding, recruitment, tech sales, something like that, so that I have actually, certain things outside of that I probably won't see, but I don't need to see it, or I'll only see it if my network speaks about it and engages a lot in that. So even though I'm not following COVID-19, there's a lot of posts coming up on COVID-19 because it's on the topic currently, and a lot of other people are speaking about it. But again, like the more you can know what you want to achieve, the better, because then you can do all of this to specifically get all that up in front of you and be in front, top of mind. Now, you can obviously use hashtag in your summary section as well on LinkedIn. I'm not sure, I'm not a LinkedIn background, like I haven't worked for LinkedIn, so I don't know their specific algorithms, but I would suggest that it's much smarter to actually use keywords in a normal like speaking text format than doing the hashtag sales, hashtag, recruiter, hashtag something like else. Just
Mhm.
write about who you are and do a pitch, and then choose maybe a little bit strategically if you use sales or marketing in your summary. So I would say the more you are like natural about it, the better.
Yeah. I think we're running out of time. I want to like make it like a 1 hour show right now because
If
it
there are questions that we didn't have time to answer, what we can do is you can send them to me after this, and I can answer them in text, for example. And then if you have a platform to share it to everyone who attended, then they can read them later on, so that we get them all answered.
Wow, that is great. Like, as you have all heard, you can put your comments also in the comment section. Even after the show, then Mia would try answering them, and we would publish them in our channels and in the different groups and from the different mediums. That is really great of you, and thanks a lot for being here. And do connect with Mia and also with the people who are joining in here, because I think, like, as we talked about connection, how much it is important. And yeah, I'm glad that you were here. This was like super valuable for all of us, and it was really interesting for me, and I got a lot of value, and I hope that everyone else also got this. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I know how
No
much
worries.
busy you are, and you had to take your time out from your schedule to be a part of this, to like give back to the community. So it has been great. Thank you so
No,
much.
always. I like the shortcut. I love what you guys are doing. So happy to be here. Great start to the morning. So hopefully everyone got something out of it, and I wish that you all have a great week ahead.
Yes, hope you all have a great weekend. And for the next, just I want to say, like on the 16th of June, we have another part of the online breakfast. We will be coming up with more topics on entrepreneurship, mindset, perspective, and soft skills, and how it affects recruiters, employers, employees, and also the people who are looking for jobs, and also consumers and customers as well. And thank you,
Awesome.
everyone, and good morning, good morning, good morning. The comments that I couldn't show here, they were always coming up on the sides, and I was just looking at them all the time. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of you for joining. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. See ya.
Thank you, Mia. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye bye.